Hey everyone, my name is James Duncan, and I'm a sports media and analytics major here at Virginia Tech. In English classes, we spend a lot of time thinking about how language works, how we construct arguments, how we tell stories, and how we make meaning. And for this podcast, I wanted to explore something that sits right at the intersection of everything I study, the idea that sports journalism and classic storytelling aren't as different as you might think. So let's get into it. Think about the last time you genuinely cared about a sports team you had no real connection to. Maybe it was a random March Madness run, or a team in a city you've never been to. You found yourself checking scores, holding your breath, maybe even yelling at a screen. Why? Because it wasn't really about the sport, it was about the story. And once you see that, once you realize sports coverage is built on the same bones as the stories we've been telling for thousands of years, you can't unsee it. There's a reason we keep coming back to the underdog, and I don't think it's actually about sports at all. Joseph Campbell, a literary scholar who spent his career studying myths and stories across cultures, identified what he called as the hero's journey. The ordinary person thrust into extraordinary circumstances. They face impossible odds, they suffer, they rise. It shows up in Homer's Odyssey, it shows up in Shakespeare, and it shows up every single time a commentary tells you a team wasn't supposed to be here. When the 2007 New York Giants faced the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 42, the Patriots were 18-0. They were supposed to be unbeatable. The Giants were a wild card team that had just snuck into the playoffs. But sports journalists didn't cover the game like a mismatch, they covered it like a myth. Because it was one. David and Goliath played out on a football field in real time, and just like the story, David won. And it's not limited to traditional sports either. Consider Cody Rhodes in WWE, a man who left the company his father helped build, spent years grinding on the independent scene, came back, and spent 2 WrestleMania main events chasing a title he or his dad never won. Standing in his way was Roman Reigns, who had been WWE champion for over 1,300 days, the longest title reign in the modern era of professional wrestling. He had dismantled everyone put in front of him. He was the final boss, and he felt genuinely unbeatable. At WrestleMania 39, Cody had his shot. He came that close, but he lost. The story wasn't finished, however, so he came back a year later at WrestleMania 40, stood in the middle of that ring one more time, and finally won the WWE Championship. The crowd didn't just cheer for him, they wept. They lost it. And WWE scripted. The outcome was decided in a writer's room, but none of that mattered, because the story was real to people. That's the whole point. The 1-year gap between heartbreak and triumph wasn't just a plot delay, it was the story. And Roman Reigns wasn't just a champion, he was the obstacle, the villain. The seemingly immovable force that made Cody's eventual victory mean something. The suffering is what made the victory mean something. That's not a wrestling thing, that's a human thing, and it goes back centuries. We don't consciously think of it that way, but we feel it. And that feeling is ancient, it's wired into us. Every culture across human history has told us some version of that story. The small defeating the great, the unlikely hero rising to the moment. Sports just give us a live version of it with the scoreboard. Sports journalism doesn't just report, it frames, and the frame determines everything. Think about how LeBron James has been covered throughout his career. Early on, he was the chosen one, a hero in the making. Then, the decision happened. A televised special in 2010 when LeBron announced he was leaving his hometown Cleveland Cavaliers to join the Miami Heat. And overnight, the framing flipped. Suddenly, the same person was a villain, a traitor, and when he came back to Cleveland and won the NBA championship in 2016, redemption arc, full circle. It was practically Shakespearean. That's not an accident. Journalists, knowingly or not, reach for narrative structure because it's how human beings make sense of the world. We've been telling hero and villain stories since before we had writing. Sports just give us a real-time stage to do it on. The villain label in sports works the same way it does in literature. It creates stakes. You can't have a compelling story without something to push against. In Greek tragedy, that forces fate. In sports coverage, it's the rival, the dynasty, the defending champion standing in the way. Remove the villain and the hero has nothing to overcome. Remove the obstacle and you don't have a story. You just have a box score. Here's the thing. Recognizing this doesn't make sports less meaningful. If anything, it explains why sports are so meaningful. When we watch an underdog team claw their way through a bracket, we're not just watching athletics. We're watching a story that mirrors something deeply human. The idea that the odds aren't the final word. That effort and belief can rewrite the ending. Literature has always been a vehicle for that idea. Sports journalism just inherited it. The next time you see a "nobody believed in us" post-game speech, or a headline calling someone's return redemption, I want you to notice the language, because what you're reading isn't just a recap. It's a narrative tradition that goes back thousands of years, just wearing a jersey. Thanks for listening.